Dhruv, thank you very much for being here today. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Let's start by talking about Embassy Group. Can you explain us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. The Embassy Group is one of the very well established developers in India. Uh, we hold India's largest commercial REIT. We have a 45 million square feet of an office portfolio. In addition to that, we have various other business interests in real estate, so other asset classes. We do a lot of residential. We are one of the largest hotel operators. So on the hospitality side, we also have an in-house hospitality operation business called Olive, uh, which scales up to around 3,000 beds. So doing pretty well. We also had a warehousing infrastructure business, which we sold to Blackstone, which is currently called as Horizon Industrial Park. Um, Always looking at new opportunities, always looking at new assets, emerging assets within the Indian economy, and we op- so it's been a few decades since our promoter Jitu Virwani established this business in Bangalore. So we come from Bangalore. That's where we started, and now we are expanding our presence across Chennai, Hyderabad, so covering South India. Also looking at now expanding. So we already have a footprint through the REIT, the Embassy REIT in Bombay and in NCR market in Noida. Um, but we are now sort of coming into Bombay in the new development role and taking up new opportunities. We're completing our acquisition or merger of India Bulls Real Estate, hoping to soon call it our flagship vehicle. It'll be called Embassy Development Limited. So that's another listed vehicle. So yeah, hopefully things will look better, and we will continue to grow in the future.
You are active in overseeing different asset classes. If you had to pick one, which one would be your favorite, or which one is the most promising one at the moment?
For me, I might be a little partial towards office because obviously majority of my development portfolio belongs to office, and we've established a great reputation in India and across the world for creating an asset class, being India's first REIT, being Asia's largest REIT, from market capital value and from the square footage coming in. Um, I think I will pick office for now and going forward. Could there be new asset classes that perform equally well in the future? There could be. The data center asset classes seems to be a very promising emerging asset class, very equity intensive. So we sort of exploring the option, but not yet. But to just cut the answer short, I would say commercial office spaces would still be my favorite.
And talking about offices, India seems to be in a completely different wave when we look at the US and Europe. Working from home became the new normal
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
And in India, we see the demand for office is quite solid,
yeah.
and there is a different culture here. Why do you think is different? And do you see any risk in the future, the culture of working from home coming from Europe and the West to impact the local market?
Sure. So good question. If you see, India is placed very uniquely, and I would say India and certain other APAC locations in Asia are in a unique situation to uh, be the captive for all the work that can be outsourced in a difficult situation or difficult market what the West or the European markets are currently facing. They continue to grow, but they're at the same time they're facing macroeconomic pressures because of which um, reduction in cost becomes an automatic, or maybe instead of saying reduction, optimization of cost becomes an automatic answer, which sort of creates a lot of opportunity here in India to sort of capture the outsourced work that comes here, right? Uh, from the perspective of flexibility that you offer to your employees, that has become a welcoming change to the Indian working culture, which was primarily there was a clear distinction between residential, as in you're staying at home and you're working in the office. So this whole COVID situation has brought in this flexibility. It's very welcoming flexibility, especially helps India to, create opportunities and also allow our diverse, the diversity quotient to be built in. The ratio of women working in India versus the ratio of women to the workforce across in the Western markets, we unfortunately are on the lower side of the scale. But if you look at how the flexibility of working from home has allowed a lot of young mothers or women folk to sort of join the workforce, has been a great help, right? And thereby, I don't see it as something that is reducing my workforce coming to work and my occupancy is going to reduce. I actually see it as an opportunity to increase my workforce, right? And that's a big opportunity that India has. So you suddenly get the 50% of your population to work. Obviously, I'm saying proportionately to the workforce that we have, which are willing to sort of come into the workforce and participate. It increases that quotient. So it's actually beneficial, that flexibility. Plus, in India, what's happening is, the comfort of working from home is not as... There's a clear delineation in the culture that you sort of don't bring your work home. A lot of time you want to just leave your work in office, right? And that creates stability for you to be close to your family and spend more time with family and not really mix that. A lot of times, if you would have understood, it caused a lot of mental unhappiness to a lot of families because there was a lot of these situations at home, which sort of is no more the problem here, which how I see it's being a split between, say, working from home and working from office. So I think I see it more from the perspective of flexibility rather than saying that it's going to reduce your occupancy in office spaces. So that's how I would see it.
What's the biggest challenge that you are facing now, and how are you addressing it?
So the biggest challenge that we sort of are currently in or facing is the foreign direct investment that used to be playing a major role in how real estate asset classes were driven. The investment that was coming from foreign portfolio investors has reduced considerably in the last couple of years, towards especially this year, considering all the macro factors that are happening in the West and the European markets. So that sort of definitely slowed the way growth was foreseen for real estate developers in India. However, for us, what we've also realized is that it's become an opportunity for us to tap domestic resources and domestic capital, which has emerged as a very strong contender, which has allowed us to still continue to grow using domestic sources and sources of capital which are pretty flexible and actually come at a decent cost of capital, allowing us to be quite incentivized to proceed and attain our goals of development.
Very good. And a final question, what makes your company different from competition?
So I would say the work culture, and I would say the humbleness with which we come forward. I think the kind of empathy our group or our sponsors share with the employees, very few real estate or companies in India actually come forward and show that. The opportunities that are presented to the employees to go through and to showcase sort of replicates the kind of assets that we've built. We've built the concept of world-class, large-scale office complexes which have actually realized value, and thereby we trade at a far higher premium valuation than any other real estate developer in office in India.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.